Well, it's time for me to break up. Yeah, we're breaking up. It's time for us to break up with Goodreads. I'm making a video today to announce a breakup and a new relationship. I'm revising my relationship status. Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. Welcome to another video. Goodreads, you were fun at first. You made me feel like I was part of a community. But now that I associate you with union busting practices here in Quebec and in other parts of the world, now that your owner, Jeff Bezos, is in the front row at the inauguration along with some other social media, I want to say moguls, but that might not be the right description. That might not be the best descriptive word. Now that I associate you with price manipulation, with squeaking out small booksellers, when I think about the packaging waste from Amazon deliveries, when I think about Amazon's carbon footprint, and when I think about all of the vast amounts of data that Amazon collects on its customers, you've made me feel, dare I say, dirty, trashy, low level, scum of the earth, maybe. And you know what? I don't want to be associated with this. This is not who I am. This doesn't represent my best interests. It doesn't represent anyone's best interests. But in terms of this relationship, I think that you're getting more out of this than I am. Listen, it's not you, it's me. But seriously, it is you. I don't need another notification reminding me that I'm on the wrong side of history. So, I want to be free. I want you to set me free, Goodreads. I want to be free from all of this. I'm not going to be a prisoner to your book ratings anymore. I'm going to read on my own terms, and I'm moving on to bigger and better things, a better relationship, if you will. So I hope you'll join me today as I delete the Goodreads app on my phone and I delete my Goodreads account. Wait, what if there is something better for me out there in the world? Hey, what's this? StoryGraph. No, I'm just kidding. I've been on StoryGraph for a while. But StoryGraph is the replacement that we've all been waiting for. StoryGraph is the future, and Goodreads is the past. Honestly, StoryGraph, you're everything I've ever wanted in a book tracking app. So I guess this video is to explain this decision. This is it. I've moved on. We're moving on. Goodbye, Goodreads. See you in the rearview mirror. Let's enjoy booting Goodreads off of my phone together. Goodbye, Goodreads. Bye-bye. Hello, StoryGraph. Hi, StoryGraph. How are you? Oh, you're so clean and aesthetic and beautiful, and I feel so good about our relationship. No, but in all seriousness, I am going to now delete my Goodreads account. So you will not be able to find me on Goodreads anymore. Sayonara. Hasta la vista, baby. And please join me for the ritual that is deleting Goodreads completely. In other words, deleting my account from Goodreads. Sorry everyone, but it has to be done. I've never deleted my account. I don't know how complicated it's going to be, but let's see what happens. Goodreads, go to my account. Sorry everyone. Honestly, I encourage you to do the same. And I'll explain my reasons in a moment. Account settings. Delete my account. How can it be that easy? This will delete your account. The ratings and reviews you've posted, your comments, writing, etc. will be removed from the site. Goodbye. Hasta la vista, baby. Bye-bye. And just like that, it's that easy. No pain, no backlash, I hope. And hello, beautiful, wonderful StoryGraph. I love you, StoryGraph. So if we were to do a side-by-side comparison of Goodreads and StoryGraph, we're going to put aside all of the other reasons, and we're just going to compare the functionality of these two apps. In terms of the user interface, I think it's undeniable that StoryGraph's interface is so much cleaner than that of Goodreads. It's more modern, it's more minimalist, it has a certain style, a certain je ne sais quoi. It's very sophisticated. And Goodreads is simple and straightforward, but it's clumsy. And it's the kind of app that doesn't know when it's offending people. Now let's talk about the book database. I've heard people say that they don't want to move over to StoryGraph because there isn't as large of a book database, but I wonder about that. I think StoryGraph might have a more diverse database of books and a growing database of books. And I have a feeling that a lot of smaller authors are going to be found on StoryGraph. In addition, I think maybe I'm not going to have to go through thousands and thousands of editions of Pride and Prejudice to find the one that I'm reading. In a way, Goodreads' inventory is too high and too full of volumes of the same book. Been there, done that. Now let's talk about book recommendations and reviews. I had a lot of fun making one-star review videos of books that I loved using Goodreads, but I realized I can do the same thing with StoryGraph, because guess what? StoryGraph also has a review feature. So really there's no difference here. In fact, the differences weigh in favor of the StoryGraph. The StoryGraph has more than just a 5-star rating. On Goodreads, you can give a 5-star rating and then you can write a review. But StoryGraph is much more highly customizable. You can set different moods for a book. It even has a separate function where you can label trigger warnings, which is pretty cool. Let's talk about the feature of goal setting. We all know that on Goodreads, you can set a goal. Well, you can do the same thing on StoryGraph. I don't know, am I blushing? I mean, it has everything that Goodreads has, and it has more, and it's better. Not only does StoryGraph have a goal setting option, but you can also track your pace, which is kind of neat and different and kind of cool and sexy. It's true that the reviews on StoryGraph are a bit shorter, but I think that probably makes them more concise. I've read some astronomically long reviews on Goodreads, and those are minutes and hours of my life that I will never get back. Let's talk about the apps. Goodreads app. I've noticed that the Goodreads app can feel sometimes a little bit slow and a little bit sluggish. Sometimes it doesn't even load for me. The good news is that StoryGraph's app is actually newer and it's more streamlined and it has more of a user focus. And I've never had it choke. They're both free. So it's not a situation of you get what you pay for, but it kind of is. And I'm going to get to that. And then the last point of comparison is the community building aspect of each of these apps. Goodreads does have strong community features, and it does have the Goodreads Choice Awards every year. Although I have to say that I've not followed the Goodreads Choice Awards that closely, and when I haven't been thrilled with the books that have won or the selections. I think that I can find other ways to scratch that itch. There are a lot of other interesting prizes out there in the book community. So for community building, Goodreads also offers forums and groups, Honestly, I've never used any of those features. StoryGraph is more focused on personal tracking, and it has more of a focus on personal data and stats, which is really attractive to a lot of users. But in terms of community, I'm the kind of person that has already built community around the BookTube channel, and I think that I can continue to build and grow community using StoryGraph. And I've seen a lot of other booktubers do that with their challenges, for example. Goodreads is a pain when it comes to customization. It took me forever just to figure out how to make a DNF shelf. I think that the shelving system of organization and customization on Goodreads is garbage. However, the StoryGraph has wonderful customization options, and it has these advanced stats where you can track the moods that you read, the pace that you read, the number of book pages on average that you read. The thing about Goodreads is that it does offer a massive library of books, which makes it a go-to for readers, and it has the Goodreads price. A lot of people go to Goodreads for reviews. It's one of the first options that pops up when you type in the Google search bar for reviews of books. Unfortunately, StoryGraph doesn't usually pop up at all. However, StoryGraph appeals to readers in a different way. It's a distraction-free platform. It's not got tons of ads on it. And it has detailed, customizable stats that are more personalized. There's a more data-driven, personalized approach to recommendations and to reading on this platform. And it's really great for gaining insights into your specific reading habits and your moods. StoryGraph just gets to know you better. But maybe it's time to put all joking aside and get into the meat of the video in terms of what are the terrible, terrible things that my now ex reading app has done. Let's start with labor practices. Recently, Amazon shut down a warehouse here in Quebec because it had successfully unionized its workers. The impact of that shutdown by Amazon here in Quebec has been over 4,500 jobs lost. That includes almost 2,000 Amazon employees here in Quebec and 2,600 or thereabouts employees of third-party workers who they use for their deliveries. That alone provided me with the incentive to quit Goodreads. In terms of the Amazon outlets that are open, that haven't been shut down because of union organizing, there's no question that the working conditions are poor at best. We know that Amazon has faced multiple reports of unsafe working conditions in its warehouses. This includes high injury rates, harsh productivity quotas, allegations of insufficient breaks. Workers are often required to meet demanding targets that can negatively affect their health and well-being. Amazon has also had wage issues. While they claim that they offer competitive wages, many employees have reported low pay compared to the demands of their work. Warehouse workers, delivery drivers, and other hourly employees are often paid just enough to cover their living expenses, leading to a lack of financial security for them and their families. Not to mention the anti-union efforts that I just described. In addition to closing down the Amazon outlet here in Quebec that formed a union, Amazon has been accused of engaging in very aggressive tactics to prevent workers from unionizing. This includes surveillance, intimidation, discouraging union votes, and this is clearly an infringement on workers' rights to organize. So now let's talk about Amazon's monopolistic behavior. Amazon's massive size and reach clearly give it a dominant position in the market, which makes it difficult for smaller businesses to compete. Many critics argue that Amazon's power stifles competition. And not having competition in the market is bad for everyone. It's bad for customers, it's bad for innovation, it's bad all around. Look up Adam Smith. I can always make another video about Adam Smith and the importance of market competition in the marketplace if you would like me to. Let me know in the comments section below. This power and reach that Amazon has in the marketplace stifles smaller businesses and competition, in some cases putting smaller businesses out of competition, and that is bad for everyone. It raises prices and it lowers consumers' choices. It might seem like Amazon's lowering prices, but it's not. It's raising them. It's a little sleight of hand, you know. In addition, Amazon manipulates prices. Amazon's ability to literally undercut any of its smaller competition through its aggressive pricing is seen as a tactic to drive other companies out of business. And so consumers have the perception that they're benefiting from these lower prices. But the wider effect is that it stifles competition and it snuffs out entrepreneurship in the economy. Let's talk about Amazon's carbon footprint for a moment, shall we? Man, I am not regretting this decision. The more I think about this, the more I realize that this was the right thing to do. And it might be the right thing for you too. So let's talk about the environmental impact of a company like Amazon. Amazon's operations in terms of their carbon footprint, and in case anybody doesn't know what a carbon footprint is, it's a measure of how much greenhouse gas is emitted through the operations of the business, or it can also be measured on an individual basis as well. Amazon's operations continue to contribute to significant environmental harm. With massive warehouses, data centers, and delivery fleets, the company has a massive carbon footprint. And in addition to this, Amazon has been incredibly slow to implement sustainable practices, and despite its large and vociferous pledges to reduce greenhouse emissions. It only takes one Amazon delivery to consider the amount of package waste that's generated by this company and the people who consume orders from it. Amazon uses excessive packaging, and most of it is non-recyclable. The environmental toll of this packaging waste, particularly from its vast online e-commerce ecosystem that includes one-day delivery, is quite obviously detrimental to sustainability efforts. What about data privacy and surveillance? Amazon itself collects vast amounts of personal data on its customers. They do this through their shopping platform, but they also do it through other things like their Alexa device. Many have been critical of these companies gathering excessive amounts of data, often without clear consent. Consent is important to me, you know? And the fear is, of course, that this data could be misused and it could be mishandled. Let's talk about surveillance for a moment. Amazon has faced a lot of scrutiny because of its interest and involvement in surveillance technologies. For example, its Ring doorbell cameras. These have certainly raised privacy concerns. Many people worry about the extent to which Amazon is involved in monitoring its customers and collaborating with law enforcement. If the stuff that I said before talking about surveillance didn't scare you, then that should. I'm now not only happy to have broken up with Goodreads, I'm a little bit scared of my ex. You know what I mean? Let's talk about unfair treatment of third-party sellers. Many third-party sellers on the Amazon site report that the company imposes extremely high fees and has unfavorable policies towards them and is also lacking in transparency, which makes it very difficult for other businesses to operate successfully on its platform. Some sellers have also reported that Amazon mimics their products and gives preferential treatment to displaying its own brand over third-party options for customers. In addition, Amazon has been criticized for suspending seller accounts, often without clear or justifiable reasons. Many sellers on Amazon claim that the company removes products or shuts down accounts arbitrarily. This can cause great financial harm and a great deal of uncertainty and risk for the smaller businesses that may be relying on Amazon as the primary vehicle through which they can reach customers. Let's think back to COVID-19. How did Amazon treat its workers during the pandemic? Amazon's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic raised serious ethical concerns. Reports surfaced that the company was very slow to implement safety measures, leading to outbreaks of the virus among its own workers. There were also reports of employees being penalized for raising concerns about their safety during the pandemic. Some workers claimed that they retaliated against the company and attempted to organize in an effort to make their concerns heard. In some cases, Amazon reportedly fired workers who publicly criticized the company. Good thing I don't work for them. This raises really worrying questions about its commitment to workers' rights. Let's talk about Amazon's track record in the area of counterfeits and intellectual property rights. Amazon has repeatedly been accused of copying successful products made by third-party sellers operating on its platform. They have repeatedly launched similar products under their own private label, undermining the small businesses it claims to support. In essence, Amazon seems to use its platform to gather data about popular products, and once those products are proven to be popular and there is enough market demand for them, they simply create knockoffs of those products and make it difficult for those sellers to sell their products on the platform. It's like a kind of cyber slavery and appropriation. And then, despite efforts to prevent the sale of counterfeit goods, the marketplace on Amazon has been roundly criticized for allowing fake products to be sold on its platform. These counterfeits are dangerous to customers. They not only harm the sellers of the original products, but they might not meet safety standards, and they could be dangerous for consumers. So, I really should have left Goodreads a long time ago. I should have left Goodreads after the pandemic. I should have left Goodreads as soon as I knew it was associated with Amazon. But because of the recent attack on DEI programs, on the Canadian economy, because of the concerns about workers' rights and labor rights around the world that are coming under attack in a way that I don't know if I've ever seen before, I've been pushed right over the edge. Amazon's size and power and business practices have made it absolutely terrifying. From labor rights to market manipulation, its treatment of employees and smaller competitors, just the surveillance alone should be enough to scare the pants off of you and I. And so if you're like me and you prioritize ethical business practices and you want to vote with your attention and your data and your use of apps and your free reviews, then I highly encourage you to consider dumping Goodreads and moving on over and moving on up to the StoryGraph. So what makes StoryGraph the better alternative from an ethics perspective? The StoryGraph was founded by Nadia Odunayo in 2020. Nadia is a British entrepreneur and she has a background in technology and business. She created the StoryGraph as an independent alternative to Goodreads after feeling very frustrated with the letter's user experience, lack of privacy, and overwhelming corporate influence. Her goal with the StoryGraph was to provide a platform that emphasized user control, privacy, and a more personalized look at tracking your reading experience. She wanted to build a service that was ad-free, focused on the reader, and that supported sustainable growth. Her experience and vision has definitely played a primary role in the way that the platform has been developed. Today, it's community-driven through the challenges and groups and book club features on this app. It's independent and it's an accessible place for us book lovers to go. Perhaps most importantly, the company is independently owned, which allows for a lot more flexibility in decision making and product development. This independence is also helping StoryGraph to avoid the pressures of corporate influence or corporate interference, which is a lot more common in bigger tech companies. Unlike Goodreads, which features ads and sponsored content, the StoryGraph keeps it simple and user-focused. This really aligns with their mission to prioritize the experience of its users without any commercial interruptions. The StoryGraph's revenue model, how do they make money, you might ask? Well, they have a free subscription model. They also have a premium subscription model. A little bit similar to your favorite booktubers having a Patreon. Premium subscription is called StoryGraph Plus. And although I haven't paid for the premium model, the StoryGraph Plus, I've heard that it includes extra features for stats and for goals and for tracking your reading experience. And maybe one of the biggest selling points of all, aside from the fact that it's owned by a woman of color, that it was started by an entrepreneur, that it continues to remain independent, and all of the features of the app that are so much better than Goodreads, StoryGraph does not sell your data to third parties. Again, have I mentioned that I'm not interested in polygamy or being in a threesome? They emphasize user privacy and transparency, and users' data is kept safe, and it is not monetized in ways that we might not want. For example, they don't sell our data to third parties. StoryGraph also pays attention to the people using the platform. They consistently update features based on community input. StoryGraph has its own blog where it engages with users about how it can improve its platform, which really fosters a sense of inclusivity and participation on the part of the user. So StoryGraph is loyal to its users. It's ad-free. It keeps its operation lean and nimble. And if you want a little extra, you just have to give a little extra. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the choice is yours, or mine, or ours, at least for now. Thanks for joining me for this video. I'm really looking forward to conversations in the comments section below. If you already ditched Goodreads and you think that I'm way behind the times, then that's completely fair. I'm always behind on everything, but you know what they say, better late than never. I would appeal to you to do yourself and the rest of society a favor and quit Amazon, Goodreads, and all of the above. Audible too. If you have an Audible subscription, just keep in mind it's also owned by Amazon. So that has to go too. It's all or nothing, right? Thanks everyone so much for watching this one. It's rare that I make these kinds of videos, but I really wanted to make this one today. So thank you for being here and I appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Despite its large and vociferous pledges and so today is the day. So yeah, let's delete. I don't know. I blush. Am I blushing? I agree. Amazon's size and power is, anyway.